Hi and welcome. My name's Ken Fisher and this is LiveLink Training. And with this tutorial you'll learn how to create a fine art paper effect on your images like this one here, just using a few filters. Now a couple of things to mention before we start. All the filters we're going to be using today are resolution dependent. Now this means that the effect that you see when you're applying them is dependent on the size of your image. So if you want to follow along with me with one of your images, first resize it to about 3500 pixels on the horizontal edge. Now this effect will also work a bit better on images that have a large area of like fairly constant density. So here we've got quite a nice sky going on, and I think that's going to work pretty good. Right, now step one, the first thing we need to do is to create a new empty layer and fill it with white. So I'm going to go down to the bottom of the layers panel and I'm going to click this little icon here, which is the create a new layer icon. And if I click on that, I get a new empty layer. Next, I want to make sure that my foreground and background colours are set to black and white. Now we can do this by clicking these little doohickeys over the top here. We've got reset to default colours, which are black and white or white and black. And then we've got toggle. So basically whatever colours we've got in here, if I click on that one, or my favourite is to do the D key on the keyboard. So if I press the D key, it'll reset whatever I've got in there to black and white. Now if it's the wrong way around, then we can press the X key and that will toggle. So basically D key to reset the colours to black and white, and X key to actually toggle them if they're the wrong way around. Now I need white as the foreground colour, so I'm just going to toggle it one more time to get white, and then I'm going to fill that layer with white. And I'm going to do that by going up to the edit menu and then down to the fill, and then I'm going to, as content here, I'm going to select foreground colour, because my foreground colour is white because we just set it. And then I'm going to click OK. And there we go. Now we've got that top layer filled with white. Step 2, to start off the effect, we need to add some noise to the white layer. Now to do this, I'm going to go to my filter menu and down to noise and down to add noise. And in this noise dialog here, I'm going to make sure that my amount is around 25%. And I want to tick Gaussian and I want to tick monochromatic. And then I'm going to click OK. And you can see now the little bits of noise that are all over in here that we're going to now attach other effects to. Next is step 3. Now here we're going to add a halftone pattern to the noise layer. And we're going to do this by going to the filter menu and down to filter gallery. We might wait a while to come back. There we go. And now we're going to go into the sketch area. So we're going to click this little triangle here to open up all the sketch filters. And here we've got one called the halftone pattern. And I'm going to click on that. And it gives you all these weird little dots, really. Now we've got some settings we can change here. We're set on halftone pattern, which is okay. And we want the size to be about 9. I've been playing around with this anyway. And we want the contrast to about 8. We want the pattern type to be dot. And then we'll click OK. And off it goes. And yeah, it will mess with your eyes, but we will be covering it up with something else in a minute. So don't look at it for too much or you'll probably be hypnotized. Step 4, we're going to add another filter called the water paper filter. We're going to go up to filter and back down to filter gallery. Just wait a second, and in the same area, the sketch, we're going to click on water paper. And that's going to add on the water paper filter. Now, again, we've got some things we can change. We've got fibre length, brightness and contrast. When I was playing about earlier, I got this to about 50 and on the fibre length. the brightness about 80 and the contrast about 70. And that gave me a nice effect that I think is going to work for us. And then I'm going to click OK. And that's a little bit better. It's not quite as in your face, that, with all them dots. So it's not quite as hypnotic. Right, now step 5, let's add another filter. I'm going to go up to my filter gallery again, and I'm going to choose filter gallery. But this time I'm going to go for brush strokes. So I'm going to close the sketch, I'm going to open the brush strokes, and I'm going to go for sprayed strokes. Now again, we've got some options here, and we'll go for a stroke length of, I think, about 8, and a spray radius of something like, I think, 10 or 12, but we'll try 12. That doesn't work bad. That's looking good. And stroke direction, I'll just leave that to horizontal. And then I'll click OK. Okay, step 6, we've got a little bit of weirdness going off around the edges here due to basically the interaction of the filters. So I need to get rid of that. So I'm just going to make that a little bit smaller with Control and minus. And then I'm going to use transform and just make the image a little bit bigger, just so these drop off the edge and go under the pasteboard. So I'm going to go to edit, and we'll try free transform, and I'll just pull that up a little bit that way and that a little bit down that way, and there it was, gone. And then I can click the tick and we're good to go. Now step 7, I'd like to improve the effect a little bit by adding some fibres as though they're running through this watercolour paper. And I'm going to do that with another filter, which is the fibres filter. But first I need to copy this texture layer that we've got here, so Control and J will do that for me. And then I'm going to go to filter and render and fibres. Now a couple of options here. I'll set the variance to about 7 and the strength to about 4. And what I need to do is just keep clicking the randomize button until I get a fairly light and even tone in this preview here. So I can just keep clicking the randomize button. You see, I'll get some, oh that's a bit quicker than I expected. That's not bad. Yep, I'll go with that. I'll try that. And then I'll just get OK. Now it's looking a bit dark, and I prefer it to have an overall light effect. So what I'm going to do is invert that layer. So I'm going to do that with a keyboard shortcut of Control and I or Command and I. And that's looking a bit better. And then I'm going to drop down the opacity of that because I think it's a little bit too much. Drop it down to somewhere like 40–50%. Well, no, maybe even less than that really. Let's have a look. 13. So it just looks as though there's some fibres coming down through this texture. And then I'm going to merge these two down. So I'm going to click again and merge down. And now we've got our texture and our background layer. Next is step 8. And I think the effect would look a little bit better if the corners were a little bit darker. So what we need is to add a vignette. So to do that, I'm going to go up to, again, the filter menu, but this time I'm going for camera raw filter. And in the filter, in the effects panel, down here, we've got vignetting. And all I'm going to do is just drag that over, I don't know, -30-ish, just to darken them corners down a little bit. And then we'll click OK. Now to apply this effect to our image, I'm going to change the blending mode to overlay. And there you can see the nearly finished product. If I zoom in a little bit, you can see that we've got what looks like little fibres running through a watercoloury type paper. Now I think this looks good, but even close up I think the edges in the image look a little bit straight, you know, and I'd like them to have a little bit of contrast in them. So I think it would look a little bit better if they were a little bit uneven. So let's fix that. So first I'm going to make a copy of the background layer. Just going to click on the background layer and then Control or Command and J, and then we're going to add a filter to this layer. We're going to go over to the filter menu and we're going to go down to filter gallery. And this time we're off again for the brush strokes and the sprayed strokes. But this time, I think this is a little bit too much. These edges are a little bit too wavy. Let's take the strength down to say 0 and the spray radius down. Well, let's see what 0 looks like as well. And I think that's not bad. That's not bad. Let's just zoom out a little bit and we'll see that the edge, oh, just a minute, we've left that back up at 12. Let's take that down to 0 and that looks a bit better. Just zoom in, you can see now we've got a little bit of a watery colour sort of edge to that, as though the actual image itself has got a little bit of texture, and that will blend in nicely with the actual texture that we've created. So after that I'm going to click OK. And now when we zoom in we'll see that the edges have now got, oh yeah, I think they look really good. They do blend in with the effect that we've got for our texture. Well, to finish off we can flatten down this, so I'll just click the top layer and then I'll go down and we'll say flatten the image. And then I think if we just zoom in, isn't a bad effect. It's got a lovely watercolour feel to it now, a watercolour painterly feeling. And I quite like that. Well, that's it now for how to create a fine art watercolour texture on your images. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up or leave me a comment in the more area under the video. And if you can, share it with all your friends. Now this would help to get me to get the most out of the YouTube algorithm and reach more viewers. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.